Doing?
Hmm.
All right. I'm, well, to say the least, honored to introduce the one and only Joss Biggins. He's a licensed wealth management expert. I probably wouldn't trust him with my portfolio, but that's
You better
just,
watch your mouth.
not just kidding. He's actually what I like about Joss the most is his transparency. Not only in person, but online. You don't really see a lot of people who don't put themselves in a box, and Joss is like very much pushing the boundaries with what kind of content you can make. You look at his content, you're gonna immediately be like, this guy is human, and you can connect with him deeply. So we built a pretty nice friendship over the last, I don't know what it's been, 6 or 7 months,
Yeah, it's been
mainly
okay.
on mainly our shared love story with the Second Brain and Notion. But getting to know him, I really appreciate his deep intelligence which goes across many domains. And yeah, he has genuine care for the people in his life, and he's here to teach us what he's learned investing over 100 hours into AI. So let's
I didn't get that.
take it
Can
away.
you try again?
That was hilarious.
Did you hear Siri?
I just heard Siri.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
happens sometimes.
God
We
damn, I gotta
gotta
turn that off.
all right, take it away, Josh.
Thanks, buddy. Um, what's up, Andy? We got Bradley, we got Carlos, Garrett, Sam, Stefan. Thank you for joining me this evening. Guys, it's fucking Saturday night. Hope you guys are drinking some margaritas or something. I see some drinks going on there, Carlos. I know it's like 3 a.m. in Venezuela right now. Anyways, guys, I want to not waste your time here. You guys chose to be here on a Saturday night, which is actually insane, which is actually clinically insane. Max gave me the worst spot, and I love it. And so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how we are going about thinking, building ourselves in this age of AI. So there was I've been kind of tuning in and out. There's been speakers, you know, talking about how to 10x your productivity with AI, how to 10x your business with AI. I want to talk about how you actually 10x yourself in the context of all of this. Because my thesis, and thank you, Max, for the intro, is that it's going to come down to being a human. Like it's going to come down to being a human. And so thank you for your intro in terms of being a human on social media. I would argue that trust is the only currency that there is. And our job is to be human and to build that trust. Let AI do the rest. Anyways, so you see up on the screen here, it says it's all the same. And it is all the same. When I think about AI, and you can go read, I've written quite a bit on this. I've researched quite a lot on this. I've thought about it quite deeply as an asset allocator. Where do we put money? Where do we allocate money? And so when we look at AI, when we look at nature, when we look at neural networks, when we look at the human brain, when we look at anything in our world, galaxies, molecules, atoms, social structures, it's all the same. And what I mean by that is it all follows the same rules: interconnectivity, plasticity, continued learning. There are, and this is something that we'll touch on multiple times, there are principles that show up over and over and over and over again. And one thing that I want to actually double click on, and the basis of a lot of this conversation today, is how you are in one thing is how you are in everything. How neural networks and large language models show up in one thing is how they show up in everything. There are universal laws here. Why care? Why care about this? Like for me, yeah, we could talk about this as being a massive disruption. We could talk about this as changing the fabric of work itself and all of these like audacious, incredible claims. For me, I'm a monk, right? I sit on the ground most of the day. I do my work. I don't worry about so much. I really run away from anything with a screen. Anything with a screen, I think, is doing me wrong. Anything without a screen is probably doing me right. And so for me, I take an interest in my body. I take an interest in my mind, and I don't take an interest in much else. But because this technology poses an interest in the threat and maybe an opportunity to my mind, well, then I'd better take an interest in it. And so that's why I care. Now, the title of this whole thing is How Can We Build a Better Human in the Age of AI? And the reason why I'm focusing on the human part is because this game is still player versus player, still PvP. We are going to interact with each other regardless. When it boils down to all of this, how you do as a human, right? How you do human versus human is going to dictate your success with or without the technology, right? You're not competing against AI. You're competing against other humans armed with AI. Are those humans armed with their own humanity? Are they armed with a developed character, with a life of substance, right? Or are they just armed with some technological bullshit, right? Not saying that's what this is. It's a massive thing, but I'm just saying let's not lean on our tools here. All of these kind of presenters through this conference have told us what to do, how to use these tools to arm ourselves to beat the game. And I want to kind of use our time here to talk about you playing and beating a different game, the game of self-mastery. Why? Because software, in fact, is going to eat the world. We know it, but it's not going to eat humans, right? We'll still be here. AI might be the digital atomic bomb, but we will still be here like those, cockroaches that we are post AI. And if we aren't, you have nothing to worry about anything. Anyways, right? A quote from Marcus Aurelius is, if it's endurable, endure it. And if it's not, it will mean your end anyways. So that's something to think about in terms of, we're still playing this PvP game. I have to compete with other humans that are using these tools, but at the end of the day, they are humans. What if I can compete with them? What if I have a distinct tactical advantage on being a better human? I'll take that over having a better tool because I'm interacting with the human directly. Because it is no longer about product, it is no longer about process, it is about trust, it is about connection, it is about communication. And that is why I don't care necessarily how to use Bard or ChatGPT to 10x my business. I care about what are my inherent characteristics that I can use to beat my competition with these tools in mind. Now, I don't know how far you guys have gone on this. I don't know how deep down that rabbit hole you guys have gone. But if you're like me, or like probably a lot of people in the world, you've gone, oh my gosh, what can't AI touch? What can't AI touch? It can touch everything. What is it not going to affect? Right? Let's take it. I mean, we can talk about the jobs just easy. We have countless examples of how our jobs are going to be seriously augmented or eliminated by AI. White collar, blue collar. AI is coming for you. It's coming for you, Bobby, for sure. Right? We know this. We've talked about this. We've seen the reports. We've seen Goldman Sachs this, Boston Scientific that. We've seen these massive conglomerates come out and say, oh, you know what? 80% of the workforce is going to be disrupted, of course, right? We know that. What about your girlfriend? What about your partner? What about your boyfriend? Is AI going to disrupt that? I don't think it'll be long. You can go right now and you can go and you can use these online sex chats. There's online sex bots. There's AI porn, AI generated porn. That's out there for you. Anything you desire, if you can describe it, it's there for you. Go ahead and get it. It won't be long until that and robotics merge. Next thing you know, you have those sex bots. That's already a thing in many parts of the world. Next thing you know, we're going to be able to start feeding ChatGPT and these large language models into those machines. And all of a sudden, I have a real life character that's playing my significant other. So who says my girlfriend can't be replaced by AI? I could see it happening. Maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's next year. You thought you were safe because you were a good lover. Maybe not. Everything is touchable, pun intended. I'll move out of the way here. That says 50% of AI researchers believe that there is a 10% or greater chance that humans will go extinct from our inability to control AI. Oh, let me read that again. Half of AI researchers believe there is a 10% or greater chance that humans will go extinct from our inability to control AI. That comes from the Center for Humane Technology, from a research paper they did, interviewing and surveying AI researchers, the people working on the technology. So that's like I'm getting on a plane. I'm getting on a plane down to Mexico, and the pilot says, "Hey," one of them says, "Hey, you know, there's a 10% chance we go down." But the other pilot says, "Not." But one of them says, "There's a 10% chance." I'm not getting on that plane. Right, but we're boarding that plane, but that's not my point here. I don't mean to spook you. I don't mean to go all existential. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is, does this statistic, does this research say more about the technology or more about us as a human race? AI could mean our end if we don't control it. Food could mean our end if we don't control it. Drugs could mean our end if we don't control it. Alcohol, I could go on and on. These things that could mean our end if we don't control them, right? It's all the same, but different. Different mechanisms for destruction. We have plenty of mechanisms for destruction, right? What is your chance of perish from food, alcohol, sex, addiction of some form? It's pretty high. I would say it's actually much greater than 10%. What are the real problems? What are we really looking at here? So I say this to outline a very specific thing. It's the same, but it's different. It's all same, but different. Same, diff. Same, diff. The human problem is more important than the AI problem. This is the thesis. This is the basis. If we solve the human problem, we solve the AI problem. The AI problem and the human problem mirror themselves, because to my earlier point about neural networks, right? My earlier point about it's all the same. Our brains work the same as an AI, right? We have that same process. We run those same language models. It's just different. One is wetware, one is hardware, other one's and then software. We go through this whole thing. You know, AI is this seemingly new, shiny thing, and it has grand implications. It definitely does have grand implications, and I've been obsessed about learning about them. And I'm going to kind of put AI down, and I don't mean to. It's extremely useful. But I think less about how to 10x or be more effective with AI. And I think rather how to use AI to widen my opportunity for self-mastery. AI, like acquiring power or acquiring leverage or acquiring new technology, which is exactly what it is, doesn't change you. It exposes you. Money doesn't change you. It exposes you. Everyone is about to be exposed, right? For your inherent being, whatever your true characteristics are, AI will find a way to expose them. And I'll have more on that in a second. So I actually think that being human solves the problem of AI. There's two problems inherent with AI. The first one is there's no one to blame. Like, there was a bias in the models, right? That AI was trained on. What are we going to call Google and say, oh, you know what? The language model it was trained on was inherently racist, and because of that, all of these characters are white, or all of these characters are black, or all of these characters are Latino. That you ask them to, no, like what? You're going to go ahead and scrape the internet of biased data? Good luck. Good luck on that one. There's no one to blame. There's no one to blame for that, right? The second problem with AI is there's nobody to trust. Who is creating the outputs? Who can we point the finger at? Nobody. That sounds like a really big problem. It actually sounds like a really big opportunity and symbiosis to me, because I can fill those two issues as a human. That problem is my opportunity. Shout out to all the entrepreneurs on the call, right? That's what we do. As a person, we can develop trust. And it's a massive skill to be able to develop trust with a human, to be the one that's trusting and to be the one that has developed said trust, right? So I want to be the person you can trust. I want to be the person you can blame. I want to solve the emotional problems of 4 billion humans on the internet, right? I want to arm myself with AI, but I want to add myself as the single point of interaction, my brand, who I am, my Joss as a person, the human that comes to you every day on social media and says, hey, I am me, I am human. I am flawed, and you can trust me to be flawed, and you can trust me to be myself. I want to solve the problems of AI, who to trust, who to blame. Trust me, blame me. Trust me and blame me. I'm willing to bet, whether it's the politicians, right, the venture capitalists, the technologists, whoever it is, the CEOs, they can't do that. They can't say, trust me, blame me, right? Let alone Joe Schmo personal brand fitness trainer, right? I have done the work on myself to be able to do that and face the world in that way. And because of that, in this world of AI, I will excel. Being Joss solves the AI problem. And I'll die on that. I'll die on that. And if it doesn't, that's fine. I'm not meant for this world. It's all good, right? So we got to be a good human. We got to be a good human. How do we be a good human? I don't know. It's a pretty old problem. Old problems, old solutions, right? New problems, look to new solutions. We don't know what works yet. But if there's a problem as old as time, right, as old as being a human itself, right, we can look to our scriptures, our texts, and know this is not about to get religious on you. And we can really kind of dive into, okay, how do you be a good human? There's lots of books on it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's actually, some of the oldest books are written on it. So why do I go to old solutions for this problem of being a human? It's because they have stand the test of time continuously through every technological revolution, through the Industrial Revolution, Electrical Revolution, Second Industrial Revolution, Third Industrial Revolution, this new green revolution, this AI revolution, the internet revolution, every fucking revolution, right? The same things still stand. Right? Stop thinking about how to use the tool so damn well better than everyone else, right? Because that's going to become ubiquitous. It's a commodity. Think about how to be yourself and use yourself, use your humanness. Don't try to fight the AI battle. It's one you're going to lose. So that then raises the question of what characteristics do I need to build in myself to be able to effectively work in this age of infinite leverage, infinite technology, infinite process, and infinite product. I mean, that's kind of the only screenshot worth. Let me look cute if y'all want to take that. Yeah, there's some really nice words in there. Communicatability. I'm gonna trademark that for sure. That's a new domain name. This is what I view the characteristics to build are. This is how, if you have these characteristics when you interact with AI, the same way that when you interact with electricity, you need a certain characteristics to interact with nature, to interact with humans. You need certain characteristics to be successful. These are the ones that I believe. Thank you, Max. Put that on IG. Thank you. At Joss Biggins. Let's get those numbers up, baby. If I can get 9 more of those followers, let's go. That's a win for me. Just if you already follow me, just hit unfollow and refollow. I appreciate that. I just want that notification, need that dopamine. You know what I mean? Anyways, a couple of characteristics here. Curiosity being the first one, the ability to ask. Who even cares to ask? Everyone that is watching this right now, whether that's post or right now, has enough curiosity to inquire. How much of the population does that literally just rule out? How many people don't even care to ask? 50%, 75%, 90%? Put you ahead of the crowd. Be inherently curious, put you ahead of the crowd. Judgment. Which questions do you ask? Right? The ability to allocate, to choose, to say, hey, I know there's a lot of questions I could ask. There's a lot of products I could build. There's a lot of processes I could do, but which ones am I going to allocate my energy to? Right? If I have the biggest gun, the biggest laser beam with the most leverage ever, that's what AI is, right? the most compute power ever at our fingertips. Where do I point it? And that's what all these other presenters are trying to address. Where do you point it? How do you utilize it? What problem will you look to solve? What choices will you make? How do you develop the skill of judgment? Authenticity. This is tough. This is tough. Who goes and is themselves in any situation, in every situation? I'm not. Do you know how hard it is to go and be yourself wholeheartedly, authentically? Damn near fucking impossible, because we're all scared and we all have egos, right? We all want to be loved and accepted. I've only been authentic a couple of times in my life, and one was like post 5-MeO DMT trip, post death. And I think that if we're able to hone our ability to be ourselves, not perfectly, but very imperfectly, that will pay massive dividends, as I'll outline later in this talk, for yourself in your own life, but also in how the world interacts with you, because it comes down to that one currency: trust. Can you trust Joss to be himself? I think so. Can you trust Max? Can you trust Carlos to be themselves? Right? Can you trust Maria to be herself? I don't know. Right? So the ability to be yourself. Joviality. There's a new one for you. The ability to play. AI learns through self-play. Very, very interesting part. So if you just give AI a certain data set, it will know nothing, and then it will know something, and then it will know a little bit more, and it will learn, it will learn, it will learn. This is this kind of it's this the golem creature. It just kind of creates itself. It creates itself through playing with the data, right? Anyone that's kind of gone into the science, the data science of large network models knows this, large language models rather. It plays with itself in order to figure out solutions and learn skill sets. Doesn't that sound like humans? I think that if you are able to willingly demonstrate the ability to play with society at large, with your comrades, with AI, that's going to be a massive leg up in your learning process. Be like a child. Communicatability. The ability to communicate. There's a better word for that for sure. Communicatability is, okay, at the end of the day, we're still going to have to communicate with said entity, or we're going to have to communicate with another human. How we communicate is everything. I used to get mad as a kid because I was like, I have no skill sets. All I know how to do is talk. And my mom was like, yeah, that's probably going to get you paid. And boy, oh boy, has it earned me every dollar that I've ever earned. And I will make my billions off of my ability to communicate, even if I can't spell or figure out what the right word for communicatability is. One day I will. I should have asked AI. Trustability, the ability to be trusted, ties to the ability to be authentic. I really hope that people take that in and understand that the most authentic person wins, the truest person wins, the most integral person wins, right? Because in this world where everything is fake, in this world where anything can be generated, the person that is the best at being themselves, most authentic, is going to win, right? Showing up to a room, to a conference as yourself, that's how you win as a human in the world of AI. Now, so those are all good. I want to explore a couple other little topics here. Power law. AI power law mirrors what we actually see in humans, right? We see this ability to, for the top 20%, to continue to get better and better and better and better and better, while the bottom 80% just falls to the bottom, right? And we see this in wealth gaps. We see this in stars, right? The top 20% of stars are bigger than the combined mass of the bottom 80, right? So we see this all over nature. That the 2080 is actually the Fibonacci sequence extrapolated, right? Power laws everywhere. It's in humans, it's in AI, right? In the age of AI, you'd better be in the top 20% or you're fucked. Power law matters more now than ever because of the law of exponentiality. We'll get into this in a second. AI is more exponential. You have more leverage. And as such, that wealth gap, that knowledge gap, that standard of living gap, that power gap will just get wider and wider and wider and wider and wider. Let me explain this a little bit further and how this actually plays out with humans. So you have, let's say, a youth basketball team. A youth basketball team is, let's say they're 5 years old, 6 years old, just learning how to dribble a ball. So if you've ever read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, you'll know that the top percentage of Olympians are born January to March. January to March. So if we have a basketball team, the players on that team, maybe it's 3 players, 4 players, are born months, January, February, March. When you're 4 years old, being 3 months more developed than your peers is a massive percentage of time to grow, right? You're just an inch taller, you have a little bit better hand-eye coordination, right? You're a little bit faster, right? But when you're so young, that gap is actually quite a bit. And so you get these elite programs, you get these grouping of elite players so they can continue to bet themselves. And that's kind of when these groups start, right? And all of a sudden you have to be in with the top 10, top 20%, the top 3 players on the team, or else you're never going to play against them. You're never going to get better, and you're going to get stuck playing against shittier competition. And all of a sudden you don't have an ecosystem for growth, right? So as a result of that, we can say that, oh, we better get busy with our partners sometime around summertime or spring, because I need to be having that kid in January, February, March, if they're going to have any chance of the Olympics with my white ass. Power law, same in AI, same in humans. The reason why that power law exists in AI is because it's all one language. So I don't know if this has been touched on earlier, but essentially these large language models have gotten to a point of exponentiality where they used to be all different disciplines, right? You used to have language AI, robotics, neural networks, image AI, video AI, et cetera, et cetera. And these used to be different departments at Harvard, right? At MIT, whatever it may be. And all of a sudden, all of those disciplines and languages got translated into one: text, right? Zeros and ones that can get put together to characters. All of a sudden, all of this data, whether it's gene editing, or whether it's how many people move in and out of a room, or whether it's me telling a story, it all gets translated into text, right? So now AI has become, and this is a recent development, 2019, 2020, AI has become this meta language, because at the end of the day, everything can be translated into text, right? I can describe a picture with 1,000 words, right? Except, I think, anyways, an advancement in one branch is an advancement in all the branches. We see how that kind of happens, and all of a sudden, advancement in AI, advancement in robotics is an advancement in neural networks, is an advancement in sex dolls. Those robotics guys didn't think they were working on sex dolls, but they were. Right, next thing you know, our worlds are ruined. Let's take that idea, let's hold that idea for a second. This idea of meta languages. Let's just hold that for a second. And then let's go back to this idea of character. Let's go back to this idea of building the human. Let's take a basic concept of being a human. Let's take the character trait of discipline, for instance. I'm just making this up. Right? Let's say that you learn discipline in a gym and you own it there, right? You develop it. And all of a sudden you found yourself being more disciplined about brushing your teeth. And your family sees you now got some pearly whites. And your family sees that you're being a little bit more disciplined about your body, about your teeth, and about your diet. Now they view you as a disciplined person. Okay, so you're developing one characteristic, one lane, one avenue, one discipline, pun intended, of yourself. All of a sudden, that advancement in discipline and exercise, right, has shown up all over your life. Brush your teeth, diet, you're reversing the car into the parking stall 10 times out of 10. Like that's how I see a disciplined person. Someone that always backs into the parking stall. Or maybe, it's just a quick getaway, but it's probably because they want to be more efficient coming out, right? Okay, that's kind of interesting, right? Discipline then radiates to many, many areas. Now the world is reflecting back to you your image of being a disciplined person. And that comes with all these other things. Oh, he's actually honest. He's actually trustworthy. Oh, Now, those are just two unrelated things, but all of a sudden, this idea of discipline has transmuted into this idea of character. This is a person that has character. Character is a meta language to being a human, the way that text is a meta language to AI. Just a similarity, just a striking similarity. Everything's kind of the same. Right? Same, but different. Same, but different. Same principles. I'll bring this up again and again and again. Same principles shown in different ways, because we all follow the same rules, right? Rules of the universe, however you want to call it. I think that what we could extrapolate from that is that going to the gym or making sure your diet's good, that can extrapolate out to trustability, to your character, to being independent, to being honorable, right? And that is what's going to make you win in the age of AI. So it's like, you want to be good with AI? Build your discipline, brush your teeth, right? Some army guy said, if you want to save the world, make your bed. Same, but different. So all the solutions kind of start merging into one, right? Which is really, really interesting. All the problems start merging into one. Everything is now an AI problem. So this is hard to conceptualize, but it's very, very real. What I mean here, everything is now an AI problem. Before I go into this, I want people to understand that there's going to be an elastic band effect here, where we start going and we start talking about these principles and what AI can do and all the crazy stuff. Oh my gosh, it's going to replace your significant other. It's going to take your job. And then all of a sudden we snap back to reality because our minds can't really stretch that far. Our minds aren't as exponential as the technologies we invent. That's an issue, right? That's an issue. And that's why I go back to these age-old principles, because my mind is as elastic as those. So everything is now an AI problem. What I mean by that is building a business, for instance, might be like a sales and like a marketing issue. It's now an AI issue. It's how can I use AI to market and build sales and have more of a brand on the internet, create my content for me, write my copy for me. How can I have my virtual assistant, or now actually just be an AI? My actual assistant turns into a virtual assistant. My virtual assistant turns into an AI. I'm saving so much money. Fantastic, right? But I'm recasting this idea of I need administrative help into how can I use AI to solve this problem? Everything is now an AI problem. Convergence, constant convergence, another thing that comes up a lot. We've seen this before. This is a groundbreaking. I'm saying everything's same, but different. But I'm also saying this is a groundbreaking technology that will fundamentally shift everything in the same way that technology shifted everything. Sorry, electricity shifted everything. So back in the day, we had this thing, doors. We still have doors today. How many of our doors, if you go to Japan, for instance, or China, have hinges? Not many. Not many at all. I don't know if you guys have ever been over there, but not many at all. What do they have? They have slide. They're sliding. They have ball bearings, right? Right? However they do it. It's all electrical. The point with that is that at some point, the problem of a door, of building an entrance, moved from being a mechanical issue to being an electrical issue. How did that happen? With the advent of electricity. Because we no longer looked at the problem of building a door in terms of what are the mechanics. We looked at it in terms of how do I apply AI to create an opening and then a close, or sorry, how do I apply electricity to create an opening and then a closing? Fundamental shift. Everything became an electrical problem. It wasn't how do I create a series of knives that go around in a bowl to crunch something up, right? That's a mechanical issue. It's how can I apply electricity to put a motor in here to create a blender? Fundamental shift in everything, right? Changed our lives, right? Of course. And the last example I'll give like this, if you're like me and you live real broke, you go to your car and you, what do you do on the window? You roll this thing up. Mechanical issue. But we don't have that anymore. Button. All right, electrical issue. Everything gets recasted from mechanical to electrical. Everything now is getting translated from electrical to artificial in so many ways. This brings us to the next kind of topic here as I kind of round out, is this notion of deep fakes. All of these topics are relating back to character, relating back to humanness. But boy, oh boy, you want to talk about the most artificial, the most unnatural thing that there possibly ever could be, that would be deep fakes. And so what we see here, I don't know how far you guys have gone on this one, but I am now, for instance, we can now create, I can feed an AI my video, my content on social media, and it can now create video realistic content of me saying anything at any time. So it looks perfectly like me. You can't tell that it's not me. I didn't make it. I didn't put the messaging, but it has my mannerisms. I have a certain cadence, a certain rhythm to my speech, right? It's gonna, and all of a sudden, boom, that's on your news feed. Next thing you know, all those fake accounts on Instagram, and like, this is not me. And you can like kind of look at it and you're like, yeah, for sure. Right? Like, oh no, someone just did this, they messed up the handle, da da da. What happens when that content has your style? What happens when all of a sudden someone can go, all right, talk to an AI and say, hey, make an Instagram account in the style of Joss Biggins, right? And let's do 17 posts about stoicism, philosophy, and technology. How am I going to compete with that? Right? A pirater is taking my IP and creating me. So this is a point that I actually don't have a solution to. And I don't know if any of us do, because this is the year that all content-based verification breaks. My voice could be generated by an AI. My face, same thing. Video, same thing. Photo, same thing. Password, same thing. 2FA, we've seen how unreliable that is. Easily broken, right? So how can someone on the internet, my consumers, my customers, be sure that it's me that they're watching? Like before, people don't care what you know, they care how much you care. But what if my avatar seems to care just as much as me? That's a problem. How do I broadcast authenticity? How do I broadcast caring? How do I broadcast vulnerability in a way that AI as me, not just AI as me can't? Is that possible? Is there something beyond the zeros and ones that can be communicated and felt by humans? Is there actually an energy? And I don't have some grand conclusion to that one. I don't know. And maybe the answer is we just need to be in person. But then maybe AI gets so good that it can replace that as well. I don't know how we solve that issue. What I do know, I don't know how we solve that issue in the end, in the 10, in the 20, and the 30 years from now. I know that how we solve the issue today is vulnerability, authenticity, caring, connecting, looking somebody in their eyes, being genuine in your content. All these people right now, they're going to be wiped out by AI, all these content creators, because their content is so predictable. It's so deeply predictable. I get it, you're going for a run. I get it, you're doing your squats. I know that angle. I've seen that angle 1,000 times. I get it, you're doing your monologue, your talking head. I've seen it 1,000 times, right? How do I create content in which I communicate caring and authenticity? I would say that I actually need to cultivate those characteristics within myself more. I would say that that's a primary driver of that outcome. But if you've never been authentic, if you've never been true to self, if you've never stood out in a crowd, if you've never been the black sheep, if you've never zigged when everyone else zags, then how are you going to do it in the age of AI? You need 10 years to go back and develop the characteristics of self in order to get to a point where you can show up with the technology of AI and do that in a way that people are going to believe and that can produce trust. So the people that have been grinding on their character for years, if they apply themselves in the technological era of AI and social will have outsized returns because everything is the same, but different, right? Those that don't have a brand won't be able to develop trust. Trust is the only currency that there is. All of our systems boil down to trust. So how do you develop that sense of trust online through brand, through caring? Maybe everyone on the planet needs to have a personal brand. Maybe a lot of people don't want to play that game, but they need a personal brand offline. Everyone has to play that game. Why? Because your net worth is your network, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. You have a brand, whether you like it or not. Your reputation is your brand, right? And that's just going to get amplified with infinite leverage. What is AI? Infinite leverage. Alex Hormozi says that the one stock that you have to always buy more of and you cannot sell is your reputation. What happens when all of these people that truly do not have content of character get infinite leverage? Probably an issue. So I'm going to leave out here with some conclusions and some questions. There was lots of things that I wanted to include tonight that I didn't, because I'm figuring it out. And one that is really, really, really troubling me and that I have not been able to get to the bottom of is this idea of incentive structures. So the question I would pose is, what incentive structures don't break for humans once the process and the product are instant? What do we want to do? What incentive structures work for us? Because I can instantly create a song. I can instantly create the project file. I can instantly create all the source code for the song. I can instantly understand how to make it. I'm not incentivized anymore to create a perfect product or to create a perfect process. Everything gets commodified across the board. And what I would ask the people who are in business on this call is, what happens in business when something becomes commodified? What's the differentiator? Brand. And that's why you have these arenas that need to go and buy naming rights, Staples Center or these other ones, right? Like, it's because the only way that they can differentiate is on brand. Why can they only differentiate on brand, right? Whether maybe it's a toilet paper, maybe it's telecom, Verizon, AT&T. It's all the same service, right? Maybe your network coverage is large, but it's all the same service, right? How do you differentiate with the customer with something that's a commodity? If every product that could ever be invented on any digital thing is now 100% commodified because I can just put the prompt into ChatGPT, how do I fucking differentiate? Through brand. What is brand? Brand is trust. I go with Nike not because they're the better shoe. Adidas is probably the better shoe. I've been saying this for years. It's fucked up. And I don't want to admit it, but it's just true. But why do I go with Nike? Because of brand, because it says something about me, right? So what incentive structures change when the process and the product are instant? What do you have left over? What do you have to build? What are you incentivized to build? To me, it's this idea of proximity in AI. It's this idea, proximity in IP. It's this idea of, what can I actually produce in the world that is true to me, that is original to me? That's really important to me. And that's my incentive structure. My incentive structure is to build my character. It's to build my IP. It's to build my own personal ability to do the learnings, right? I can go and right now listen to Beethoven, for instance, on Spotify. It'll be incredible. I got my Bose speakers. It'll be incredible, right? But if I watch someone play Beethoven, I'm going to be blown away. I think there's a nugget in there somewhere. I really think there's a nugget in there somewhere that the people that are able to apply and learn are going to have outsized returns from the people that are just able to present a commodified product or process. It's why I don't believe in online courses anymore. It's just a fucking commodity. It's just a commodity. There's a trillion of them, right? Couple of things to leave you with here before I wrap up is, we have some reflection questions and some action questions. Max, that'll send it to you. And I want to really emphasize that the first kind of interaction with AI was social media, right? And that was kind of humanity's first contact, if you will. And that was a race to the bottom of the brainstem, right? Who can feed me stuff that I will just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and hit me with that dopamine, right? Our second contact with I believe, will be a race to intimacy, which is really a race to trust, right? Which AIs do I trust? What chatbot do I trust? What video generator do I trust? What AGI do I trust? That's an idea from Azar Raskin, and this idea of the race to intimacy, which I believe is a race to trust. And I just really want to double click, underline, bold, italics, and say, build your ability to be non-dependent, build your ability to command your dopamine systems, build your community, your ability to communicate with community, your human to human interactions, build your ability for non-corruptibility, and ultimately just for independence. How can I be enough in and of myself? This is the idea of meditation. This is the idea of breath. How can I be pure experience enough in and of myself? How can I internalize all of my needs? Because every need that I externalize will be exploited time and time again. It was by the food industry, by the drug industry, any industry. Now it's the technology industry. It's Facebook, it's Meta, right? It's TikTok. And it's going to be AI. My deepest need is my need to be loved. That is my deepest need. AI will find a way to provide that for me. I guarantee it. Safeguard that. Safeguard your ability to feel loved. Safeguard and internalize what love means to you, what intimacy means to you, right? Because what happens when loneliness becomes our greatest national security threat? Really bad things. I know we've already seen this. So incentive structures will change. Being a human will remain the same. Old problems, old solutions. And what I would say to you is that through every technological revolution, the best humans still won. Time and time again, the best humans with the best characteristics, drive, curiosity, judgment, durability, they always won, whether that's Steve Jobs, right? Whether that's Elon Musk, whether that's Oprah Winfrey, they still won. How can you, through this next move, become the best human and ultimately win? Don't get distracted with this shiny object that is this new technology. Not to say that it's not important. It's deeply, deeply, deeply important, but it's not the thing that you should focus on. The thing that you should focus on remains the same thing that it's always been, which is your idea of self-mastery, self-sufficiency, right? Be the best fucking human, and the rest will figure itself out. And that's all I got for you guys today. 10 minutes early.
Fresh. Uh, awesome, Just. Feel like I have so many questions. My curiosity is actually maybe something you don't want to answer, but how are you actually using this stuff like day to day? Can you take us through what that looks like? I know it's a little bit off topic because you're talking about this human side, but my
Sure.
curiosity is, as a human, how are you actually putting this into practice every day?
Yeah, totally. So for me, I use AI every day. And I use it in terms of how can I get the quickest synthesized access to information? So I'm researching companies, I'm researching industries, and I use Bard actually. And so I go, all right, Bard, can you tell me, stock XYZ crashed 3 days ago. Can you synthesize all news for me and give me something quick that I can communicate? I use AI to give you a synthesized answer. I use AI to streamline my communications, because my job is to communicate really, really, really well. And my job is to be trustable. My job is to be authentic. And my job is to show up as a human. So all of the non-human things that I have to do to show up to be a good human, that's what I get it to do. So synthesizing news, finding information, and of course, I will always, one way I use AI a lot is in Notion, and I actually wrote this kind of presentation, and I'll ask AI to take the other side of the argument consistently. I'll be like, okay, this is great. What's the other, write a contrary view. What is the exact other side of this statement that I have? This paragraph here, write a contrary view or disarm or debate this point. I think that it's really useful in order to kind of use the compute power of the internet to prove why I, Joss, a single person, am wrong. I think that helps me in my ability to communicate.
It's so interesting because I remember that's something Paul Council talked about. He was like, if you want to be really smart or you want to truly understand who you are, like every time you think about studying something new that you believe in or you want to, confirm your beliefs or whatever, go research the other topic and be able to explain the other side of the argument like just as well as what you're about to argue.
Totally, man. Yeah, I think it's so powerful. And I think that the compute power can be massive in aiding us with that. But again, it's the person that's most curious, right? It's the person that knows how to communicate that question the best, that's actually going to succeed in that. And it's ultimately going to be the person with the best judgment who's able to take both sides of the argument and present a conclusion, right? That takes an immense amount of judgment, which takes a lot of work to build. So yeah, I think again, I'm kind of taking both sides, right? I'm taking both sides. I'm going, hey, this is kind of useless, and this is kind of everything, because I think it's both. Thank you, Max, for the opportunity as well. If there's any other questions or anyone wants to jam, holler at your boy here. If not, we can wrap it up. Who's that with that dark hand up there? Garrett, what's that? What's happening, brother?
Joss, beautiful presentation. Thank you.
What's going on? Thank you, bro.
What
Appreciate
what
that.
are some practical ways that we can improve or build upon these skills that are going to be so vital? And I know there's a lot, and I'm not telling you to go over everything, but just to get me in kind of like an action step kind of mindset to build
Yeah.
on the steps.
I mean, there's a million self-development gurus that can tell you this, but I'll tell you what it is for me.
Yes, please.
Authenticity, for instance, is the one that comes up. Trustability. It's like, I was talking with my therapist the other day, and she's this Jamaican woman, and she's like, "You're lying," and I was like, "Damn, I am lying." And because I was just bending the story a little bit. I was just being surreptitious. And so, like, for instance, how do I change my ability to be authentic? Notice every time that you're sharing a white lie. Notice every time that you're bending the story a little bit. When do you ever show up and tell the truth and the whole truth? When do you ever do that? I would argue never. And so it's like, what's an actionable step to improve my human characteristics in order to interact with AI in the world better? Don't lie. Tell the truth. Because the result of the reality that will manifest itself as a result of telling the truth is the best possible, the highest leverage and most exponential reality you could ever step into. That's a hard one to swallow because I lie every day and I don't even mean to. Right. So I would say that. And then I would also say, in terms of curiosity, how do you foster curiosity? There's always a question to be asked about everything at every time. And I would just, as you interact with inanimate objects or as you interact with people, how deep can you go in your understanding of the person, of the thing? You wouldn't call something a problem or an issue if you had complete understanding and comprehension of it. Goa, if you have something that's a problem, it's because you haven't asked the right questions or enough of them. That will foster your ability to be curious. When you start to realize that all solutions are on the other side of curiosity, you'll start to be more curious. You just have to train that fucking system in yourself like a rat. Dopamine reward, baby. Good question, though, for sure. Carlos.
Yes,
Hermano.
a beautiful presentation, very specific. Props for that. I just was wondering about the word you used, infinite leverage. Can you dive deeper into that, and what do you mean exactly?
Por supuesto, hermano. Entonces, ¿tú quieres en español o en inglés? Nah, esto es un bromito, pero yeah, so infinite leverage. What's the leverage and the infinite nature of it? So what I would say is, are you able to produce one additional unit at no marginal cost, right? Can you move forward with no friction? Is there no cost of moving forward? And if, like, for instance, if you're a train and you need to move forward, well, what stops you is the friction on the tracks. Now, you can move forward infinitely if there's no friction, if you're not actually touching the surface. So that's just kind of this 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, and we don't lose anything, right? And we can do that infinitely, 1 not to 1, but 1 to 5. You can picture the tree, the 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, each of those infinitely, because there's no additional cost or marginal cost. And so that's what we do with social media. I say one thing to my mother, and I said it to one person. I say one thing to this phone, and I've said it to 1,000 people. Like, that makes no sense. And so there's your leverage. And what makes it infinite is the fact that there's no marginal cost, there's no friction for that share, right? Or for that to reach another person. And so in theory, I have infinite energy and infinite ability to communicate. And so my actions with an AI bot, I can say, I can push it down, just my simple push right back to physics with the little ball thing, whatever that is. That energy is just going to keep going. You guys know what I'm talking about. That thing, I don't know what it's called. That energy is just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. That's what we have with AIs, because there's no additional cost, no marginal cost to another input. And there's no additional cost for that AI to take your prompt and start prompting and prompting and prompting and prompting. That is infinite leverage, right? Newton's cradle. Max, you would know that, you nerd. So that's what I mean by infinite leverage. And so for me, it's, I don't do what I think is most important. I do what I think is most exponential. What is most exponential is always tied to what has the most leverage. Give me a lever and a place to stand, a lever that's long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the world, right? So the exponentiality part and the leverage part really come together, and that is Naval. Thank you.
Yeah, Naval, dude, you sent me down the Naval Ravikant rabbit hole.
You'll never get out. You'll never get out.
That guy is insane. If anybody's never checked out him, I'm reading the almanac right now, and it's bizarre. Who else has questions?
Anybody?
I like Carlos's question of how do we know that this isn't an AI Joss right now?
You don't, son. You don't. You just have to say, did this guy murmur enough? Did he stutter enough to be real? But no, honestly, like, that is the question, and that's the part that I don't have the answer to. I've actually published some work on this, specifically an article called Proximity in AI. I think that the only verifiable way, I think that people will have to be in physical proximity in order to authenticate anything. And so who you have access to, who you can be close to, becomes a massive input in terms of anything that you're building or anything that you're learning. Who do you want to choose to be close to? Whose IP do you want to choose to be close to? Whose intellectual property you want to be close to? And because that's the only way to verify information, because every video and every audio and every text can be fake unless you're in person, and that too may change. And so I think, yeah, if we're able to verify things through physical proximity, our proximity as humans becomes highly monetizable. And that is actually my thesis on social networks and social media growth. But that's a topic for another day. So you don't know. I see some mics going on and off there, guys. I see you. I just want you guys to know that I see those mics going on and off.
I'll kind of ask a question here then. You can't really see me. I'm in the car start, but curious. I was actually talking with my brother this morning about like AI and kind of how like the arts I don't think will ever be replaced, as you were talking about Mozart and stuff like that. What other things do you think will just kind of never be replaced just because of human nature?
I mean, we could start the hour with this one. This is a great one. So I would challenge your conversation with your bro, because I think that creativity is deeply natural. It's within ourselves. It's within nature itself. Nature itself is creative. You can see that when you cut a branch off from a tree, and it grows another one. It grows its way to the light. It grows away from an object, right? It's being naturally creative in the selection. And the same thing happens with humans, right? We're all naturally creative. We know this. That's why we have artists. AI, I can ask an AI to be creative, and it will give me creative, unique works of art. So that raises a super interesting question, which is like, okay, intellectual property is what I create. It's the works of the mind. But intellectual property, as we understand it, if an AI generates a new creative piece of art, does the AI have the IP for that art? How does that work? So all of a sudden, IP is attached. The notion of IP is attached to an entity, right? To a human, right? So that's really interesting. I would challenge on that. And then I would also say the only couple of things that I think will never be replaced by AI is, again, it's a human to human world. We will have to interact with humans. If we don't, we're all dead. And so it's like, hone your ability to interact with other humans, hone your emotional intelligence, hone your sense of self, right? We will always need a point of trust that is deeply inherent to human psychology. How can you be a trustworthy person? How can you build that on scale? Oh my gosh. I think that's always going to be something that humans will be, regardless, be a part of our narrative. And then, non-corruptibility. We will always need to look to humans and go, who do I trust? Who's non-corruptible? I honestly think, just to like be creative about this, we could take this to a world where there are certain people that become like oracles, if you will. So like, what if, Max, let's see you guys' eyebrows come up. So like, what if there are certain people that we go to, like right now we have oracles in our society, like Elon and Zuckerberg, for instance, and we'll go, okay, these are people that know something, they're a source of truth, right? Or maybe, but that's a source of untruth. And it's like, in our future world, is there someone that is offline, not connected to whatever, uncorruptible, non-dependent, 100% trustworthy? Does that person become an oracle of truth? Like the same way, like where priests used to be an oracle of truth? I think that idea comes back somehow. And I don't really know how, because it's like, oh no, the priests are the one with the faith. The monks are the one with the faith. They're the only one that know what is true, what is God. And so it's like, in a world where everything is corruptible, everything is duplicatable, everything is artificial, how do you become the one thing that's real? And I think that will never change. And I think it's actually about to have a resurgence in our culture as humans look to other humans. That's kind of a it's a weird one. Oracles. Sam, Bradley, if you guys want to hang out, and Andy and D, Miss King.
So I don't have like an amazing question. I just wanted to say thanks for putting this together. The play and curiosity, I was like, yes, humans. I've been really kind of like struggling with this whole like, why are we here? What is our purpose? All this stuff is changing and all these things. And I was like, play and curiosity just really hit the like human heart. So thank you.
Hell yes. Hell yes. That's not just something I pulled out of a hat. On my deepest journeys with, with plant medicines, I always come out with that conclusion. And my conclusion is I have no other job but to dance and to play. And my job is to play my ass off and get as many other people to come play with me. That's it. And honestly, in a world of infinite leverage and an automatic process and product, what else are we going to do? Maybe it becomes the person who's able to play the best. Maybe they rise to the top of the social dominance hierarchy. Wouldn't that be interesting? But yeah, anyways, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, so no questions on my end. I just wanted to say, Josh, thanks for talking and giving a very nice and fresh perspective kind of on this whole thing. Most people, like you're saying, most people are just kind of like, how can I leverage this tool to be more efficient, this and that. And I was not even thinking about like the actual human side of thing. It's always going to be there.
Always, brother. Always going to have that
beautiful.
wetware. Always going to have that stanky ass body. Always going to have it. You're never going to not have it.
Joss, what are your thoughts on like, have you seen the movie Her?
No, but I know the premise. Intimacy
Okay.
robot is created, right? Tell me. Go
Because
ahead.
yeah, you kind of touched on it. But just like the idea of the AI actually, because you said earlier that AI it's very similar. You made a comparison to being human. I forget exactly what you said, but like,
Sure.
what are the odds that the AI actually does develop a consciousness? I asked another guy this question as well earlier. But yeah, just curious to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, bro, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a different answer, and which is it already does, because all things have a fucking consciousness, right? They and I don't mean to get super metaphysical. I am growing my hair out on you, so I might get pretty hippy dippy on this, and my beliefs do run this way. But listen, your tree has a consciousness, your rock has a consciousness, your AI has a consciousness. We are all part of a consciousness. Anything that is material, it's all made out of stardust. It's all the same thing. The products that we create, the software, the hardware, the wetware, it all has an inherent consciousness to it. It's just different levels of it. And so it's, will the consciousness of AI grow to an unreasonable, unmanageable, and indistinguishable level? That's the real question. Will it develop a consciousness? My guess is that the historians, 1,000 years from now, will look back and go, how did they think it didn't? How did they think that it didn't? Right? To be alive. What is it? What's the quote? To think is to be, or something like that. Something like that. Tell me an AI doesn't think. Right? To create is to be alive. Tell me an AI doesn't create. To communicate is to be alive. Who's to say it doesn't love? I'm not scared of these things. I don't think we should be scared of AI any more than we should be scared of death. Right? Welcome it in every day. Live with it. Sit with it. And again, that's that elastic band effect. That, oh my gosh, that's fucking crazy. Sex bots. Whoa. Snap back. Siri still gets the address wrong. Why am I even scared of this thing? Facts. Super facts.
It's Siri talking to her half the time. She just popped up right now. It's funny.
Hey Siri, take me to Tim Hortons. All of a sudden it brings me to Dunkin' Donuts. Cool, guys.
That's I think that's all, Joss. Been amazing.
Oh, hold up.
as always.
Sorry, Max. If I could, Carlos actually asked a really good question.
Sure.
Is there any group / community where we can make / join to share info about AI applications into our life? Max?
You're asking me to, yeah, I mean, do I have a group? No, there is no group at the moment, but I mean, the summit group, I feel like could develop into that. I feel like this is a topic that needs to be explored more. Someone else brought this up. Like, it would be great to see. It was Chris Haupt was talking. He said, I'd love to see this, a year from now and what's changed. And you talk about this a lot, Joss, in your article as well. Just the idea of like, you put these 100 hours in, but it's changing so fast. So like, what's going to be different a year from now? But yeah, there's definitely even in the Uncommon Success Network, there's an AI chat. So
yes,
I don't know if you're involved with that, Carlos, but there are people talking about this stuff and who are interested in the concept. So yeah, definitely. I feel like if you don't have a community, create it and start masterminding with people and talking about it.
Absolutely. And I'll just add one thing and then I'll shut the heck up, Sam. Thanks for your comments. Oh, Sam left. But one thing I would add to that is like, yeah, you don't have a community, create a community. So what characteristics do you need to do that? Good judgment and good curiosity. Right? It's the same thing. Like have good judgment on who comes into that group and ask the right questions. Right? You could also ask AI to go out and find those people and then you can go create the group, right? Same but different, Maji. Same but different. So cool, guys.
Thank you, Joss. Appreciate you so much, man.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night and get some sleep. My God. Nos vemos. Ciao.